Steve just asked for the Zoom link, so I'll send it to him.
And call the order.
We move on to minutes.
Approval of minutes.
Folks, you can hear us okay? Okay, we're on the minutes, so.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
It's Angel, I'll second.
Any visitor comments?
You just need a quick vote. on the minutes.
All favor, is that what you say?
All in favor, yeah.
Aye.
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 Resounding majority, so
Okay.
we're good.
Okay,
There are
no
no
visitors,
visitor
no
comments.
visitors, okay. Old business, we'll start with rooftop lighting.
Certainly. So per the minutes, we reached out to Laughlin and also to Summit Electric to get quotes for the Hagen properties, the gentleman that was here last week or last month, excuse me. Holland also to fix your, not the lights on your string. And then Angel, you had, I was gonna connect with you to make sure which side of the buildings you want quoted and to get access to that.
Okay, I'll shoot you. Well, you can come anytime. Anybody can anytime, honestly.
Okay, well, I'm gonna give them your name so they connect with you to make sure.
That'll
we get-
work.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we expect to have quotes back by this time next month, so for those projects.
Okay.
Okay.
District vehicle and pedestrian.
I'm gonna check participants really quick. I don't, Steve is here. Ray Golick was going to try to join us, the area engineer from the county, to go over, again, discuss the Big Bend Road Diet, as we call it. He wasn't sure if he was going to be able to make it, so if he pops back in, we can come back to that. Mr. Chair, that
All
work?
right, that works. New business.
Budget is our new business and our big item. I wondered, Mr. Chair, if we wouldn't just talk about C, the district events, and sort of what your plans are this year before we talk about the budget, just to get a sense of maybe what we need to add in the budget. Does
Okay,
that work for you?
sounds good. Let's talk about the district events then.
So obviously, I'm gonna turn to Fran here and look, we obviously have trick or treating, we have the gazebo series
Right,
that happens. Want to make sure we have everything encompassed on the plan. So Fran, anything?
I mean, I guess the question every year is, do you still want to do it?
Oh, yeah.
Old Webster is planning to trick or treat again,
Okay.
so that works well for both. And I'm assuming the gazebo series too.
Mhm.
I don't know what we're gonna do about the tree lighting, because I think the tree is going to be taken down, it's dead.
So to the tree lighting, I can speak to that. The tree will need to come down this year. So the city is looking at, obviously a replacement tree. We can get a tree of decent, good size. It's a park. It's not your budget issue. But it's not going to be near as prominent yet as the tree that is there. So we also are looking at, do we create, I'll use the term a winter wonderland, sort of more ground effect lighting type stuff, and have an event in that regard around the little park. And just to give it a little pop and not just have the one tree, and hopefully have the tree, as Councilmember Richardson can attest, all light up at one time this year, so. So we're more than happy to continue the tree lighting, but
I guess we just wait and see what tree is gonna be and, we have the lights, right? I mean, there's
Well, yeah,
there's no
the-
expense to it, right?
it's not even
Only
an
if you want
expense to
to
you.
add more lights, which had been, if the tree was still going to be around, that was
Right,
one
that's the
thing she
bigger
would
one, yeah.
discuss.
Yeah. So
I think we have to do something. I think we have to do something, small tree or little tree. I like the winter wonderland, but I think it would be wrong not to do something.
And the caroling seemed to be well received last year.
Well, even if it's a new tree, we could at least decorate, even if it's not huge, I mean,
It's true.
people gotta realize it's gotta grow a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, we obviously, the district doesn't bear any cost for the lights, right? I mean, the tree we put up and such, it's really a matter of if you want to do the event. And if you as the district want to add anything to it, right? You can always add ground effect decorations. Of course, Old Webster, has, the garland they put on poles and such like that. If there's anything you want to add, you don't have to decide that now either. We can always come back and amend the budget if we need or such, to add those kinds of things.
Yeah, I wouldn't think it'd be a huge expense if we decided to do some decoration.
So.
Any other,
The only other thing was, and we haven't discussed it for a while, but John had talked about expanding the autumn fall festival that
Some other type
That
of
you-
festival, yeah.
that as a district wide that civil alchemy and field theory kind of to kind of get it as a district event as opposed to just, and I didn't know. I guess this is just a reminder, do you want to, because now's the time to think about if you wanted to do that,
Like we punted last year.
right? Because you even suggested at one time just to have a subcommittee,
Right, like something similar to the Gazebo series. I
right?
guess personally, I'm not sure that I could take that on. But is there a committee that would? In the shopping, in the retail that might want to,
Right,
maybe actually just wrote down, ask the Union Studios if someone from there wants to join this committee. And see if there's something that we can do that's more retail.
I believe somebody on my staff would jump us on a subcommittee to talk about the possibility if Union Studio would be on board as well.
Awesome, let me reach out to them. How soon do we have to have an answer on that? Is that something we
Oh,
can
you-
amend also?
Anything, you can always amend the budget. It's really, we just try to get a good sense of,
we never had anything in the budget for a fall thing, did we?
Mm-mm.
I think that's would be more retail where they would put their booth stuff and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
yeah, no, it's especially the first time out, it's a question of,
Their whole model too, I mean, I'd have to see if they have interest, but their whole model is based on. Local artists, that's what their store is, it's all local products, so they could be a good candidate for
They
that.
could bring
because
all their artists.
They can bring all their artists to the table,
Mhm.
to the event.
I think it's definitely enhances like a fall thing in the.
Yeah, it brings people down to the district and now there's a lot of retail and. But it also brings people to eat and drink and.
right, exactly.
Yeah, I think Amy's Cake Pop, I think Amy would probably be interested in, they've been trying to bring a lot of more stuff happening down here, whether it's pop-ups and music and tastings and things like that. So I bet she'd be interested as well.
Yeah, as far as like being on a subcommittee,
Yeah,
So maybe between now and next month, look at the calendar, start poking at October or whatever. To see, a good weekend and maybe look at. When the fall stuff they do up in Old Webster.
Yeah, they will have their Walktoberfest again, and that is the 14th or 15th of October. And that trick or treating will be the last Saturday before Halloween,
Blues Fest third weekend, right? Or September.
in September,
Maybe early October
So,
before the
maybe
weather,
first weekend in October or
Yeah.
first or second, something like that.
I think we ought to look at those 2 weekends and see.
I think that's when. There's a lot of festivals that time of year.
Yeah.
Yeah, things just start popping.
Yeah, October's gonna be, but that, if we could just do it a little bit opposite of Old Webster or do it the same weekend, and. Just be like, we're doing it too, I mean,
It's whatever you want to do.
what would you think?
Or
about-
you could take the opportunity to cross promote each other.
Right.
Here this weekend, come back next weekend to whoever,
Yeah, I guess I prefer back-to-back weekends instead of the same. I mean, I'm not, the retail doesn't make much difference to me,
Maybe
but
through like,
if all those people are wandering around up there, maybe we say we'll go down there next or something like that.
what is their event? Oh, what?
they call it the Walktober.
Okay.
They started it when you couldn't go inside,
Right,
so everything was outside, but it was so well received that they just continued music and try to do
Oktoberfest on
an
sidewalks.
Oktoberfest theme. They even get a couple of German bands, but then some of the businesses get music on the sidewalk too.
Maybe we could do something in the park too, like some.
Yeah, you got the advantage of
put their
using the
own-
park big time.
put music out there too, just for like, guys playing throughout the day, a couple hours each or something.
Fran, I know it's crazy. Do you think anybody from their committee would be interested in talking about doing it the same weekend so that it's all one big Webster event? If it were talking about the same thing, retail, music, getting people out?
The trade association meeting is next week. I can certainly ask.
I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but it seems like it might be an opportunity for us to still do something joint and make it one Webster instead of trying to, or people might like that we're doing some separate things, but if we're talking back-to-back weekends, it just seems like that's pretty close.
I'll put it on the agenda.
Well, that's just me. There's a lot of other people here. Other people might feel
But-
very differently.
Yeah, well, no, that's why we're tossing it around, because I thought the same thing, maybe, both places attract people back and forth and that type of thing.
Sure.
So then
You could,
you could make Walktober a Webster-wide event?
well, between the two districts anyway.
Yeah.
You could, if depending upon, now this is where you get into money, get a trolley for the day to go back and forth between the two.
Yeah.
If,
That's been suggested to us by a retailer in the old Webster district.
I know they're looking at doing that in December.
Correct.
There
There's
is-
that was mentioned to us.
Yeah.
Someone who'd like to see retail between the two.
On the week, Saturdays and Sundays in December, that was my next thing I was gonna share. Now, that's being, an individual business owner is organizing that,
The trolley thing or something?
yeah, in December.
Well, and if we're talking about Walktober, I do know that Alan Naring is very excited to potentially, since he's now doing retail, to include Crossroads. So, I mean, it could be, if people were interested, including, I mean, we could ask all the districts if they were in agreement or if people wanted to.
So Holland, I want to just pop in there. So if you're expanding to that extent and such, I think it's a great idea. Totally agree. It's a great idea. The BDC is quite interested in that very idea, right? How do the events get coordinated? They also have, I don't want to say they have money. There is money in the budget that, the council's looking for recommendations from them, on, and this is where the business bingo came from. About how do we really use some of that federal money that came in to help incentivize and sort of create that cross coordination and work. So if that's part of it, getting the trolley or helping people get around, I'm quite sure that even outside the districts, you're gonna get, the Zeta Del Maypop area is gonna be interested. You might see some interest down from Yorkshire as well. I'm not saying it's gonna walk all the way down to Yorkshire, but you get my point, so.
I say in the spirit of trying to get things together, more on Holland's idea, just instead, and then if they say, no, we don't want you to do that, then we say, okay, but maybe us be the first ones to say, let's try to do it jointly, and then maybe we start getting a little more of that through Christmas and.
Agreed.
You like that idea?
I mean, I think similarly, since we were approached to join their event in the Christmas season, there's a bit of they've reached out, we should reach out.
Sounds like.
Yeah, I think the more we collaborate, better off the whole Webster thing would be. So
John, does
tentatively,
that-
let's tentatively put it on that weekend and then see if you can get the committee people going a little bit, just to. I mean, we got plenty of time, obviously, but
So are we saying that if we can get them interested, then we might even be able to get the BDC to actually
Sure.
fund
I
the
don't,
trolley?
I
or
don't think,
something?
I don't think the BDC would balk at all of the idea that the districts,
Yeah.
the districts are talking and working together, they're gonna be jumping up for joy. So not that they're critical, but it's, I think they really want to see this happen, so this kind of coordination.
kind of makes sense.
Then we just have to have people willing to meet.
Right.
To do a little organization.
And then for the first time in the time I've been here, the BDC now has a member from each of the districts
Yes,
on it, so.
Which is a big help.
Holland staff members on it, we have a Crossroads business owner and also Tim Delaney from Old Webster, so.
Well, good. Well, I guess we'll tentatively put it on that, and then next month we can say, hey,
See
do
what
we have anybody that can be on the committee or?
yeah, it works real well too, because the BDC meeting is the following week too, so
Oh, good, okay.
we could get everybody
Yep.
discussing it this month.
Great.
You guys are the first meeting of the month.
Okay. All right, so I don't think there's any other district events that we,
For 23, I didn't have any, just wanted to check in and.
Yeah.
All right. Ready for budget?
sure.
Everyone's so excited to talk about the budget. So we did email a document. I think you all should have this. Fran sent this last night. It's a very preliminary budget that is for you all. I just wanted to take a second though, and I'm going to share the screen here come on. Look here together at what we call the 5-year plan for the districts. Bob has seen a version of this. And this is just for your district. Sorry for the pop-ups here. what I wanted to talk about is you fundamentally, the business districts have the services that you talk about in the budget that are expenses. We mentioned this briefly last year, you know, your lighting program, your events that you want to do, but then also you pay through a revenue transfer, which is the negative number in your revenue line, the operating transfer out to the Parks Department to do what they provide. So the flower baskets and pots are the biggest thing, obviously snow removal, sidewalk and such, other cleanup duties that come throughout the year in the district. So those are not normal municipal services. You know, you're a property owner outside of the districts, you have to shovel your own sidewalks. You don't get flowers from the city planted on your roadway and such. So you as the district have funded that for some years. The transfer amount is listed, you know, for this year at 36,407 is the transfer amount that you're seeing this year. Why I wanted to bring that up is you're in no danger of any issues right now, but sooner or later, essentially what you're doing, because you're paying for that service as a revenue negative, and also all the other services you provide, you're spending more than you take in terms of your tax revenue year over year. So you're spending a little of your savings on the total service portfolio, what we call the fund balance. Okay, so when we look at this, where if you follow my cursor, you should see in column D, this is the current budget. You are, you know, expending $51,000 if you spend your whole budget this year, okay, $51,000. Your whole revenue this year, when you take out the money that goes to the Parks Department, is $8,000, which means you spent $43,000 more in your expense budget over your revenue, your actual revenue in. Does that make sense what I'm saying to folks?
But 36,000, it counts towards that though. I mean, it's like,
So the 36,000 is a revenue negative. So transfers in the way the city accounts are always in the revenue. So we take 36,000 from your account and move it to the general fund to pay for that service.
okay,
Okay. So even though you've taken in, we expect you to take in $45,000. That's what we'll say right here. We're taking $36,000 back out to pay Parks and Rec. Okay.
okay,
That number really hasn't changed much. It's gone up a little over the years. It's not a massive change. And you have $8,000 of real revenue and $51,000 of expenses that you have, you know, essentially got. So $59,000 against an $52,000 against an $8,000 budget of revenue, $43,000 out of the fund balance, the savings. This next year, that's not going to be necessarily a big problem. Your fund balance is here. You started this year with about $118,000 in savings, Old Orchard. So you're going to pull that down if you spend the entire budget, and if revenue comes in right where it's budgeted, not over, you're going to pull that savings account down a bit. As you go forward, you can see years where we get out to 25. Again, if we spend the whole budget, not making big changes to the plans, you start to get into this negative fund balance, right? And that's where we end up with a problem. How do you pay for things, right? How does the district, the service portfolio that you wish to invest in, get paid for? So that is an issue for us to consider. Not now, we don't have to do it in this budget, but we need to be conscious of this going forward about, you know, how much longer can you support the whole thing that Parks and Rec is doing for you, and also all the things that you want to do that you talk about when we create the budget. Does that make sense?
yeah, but can we say, hey, Parks and Rec, we don't want you to do as much?
So that's, yes, so I've asked Parks and Rec to do a whole à la carte menu now, rather than here's what we do, here's the cost of that. In reality, you're paying for a full-time staff. Obviously, that one person doesn't always work. That's a number of hours, right? 2,080 hours, plus then some part-time staff to do all the watering, all the removal. So when you see the 4 or 5 people swell in, you know, to do watering or to do snow removal, all those hours, and we account for those to make sure you don't get, you know, don't end up paying too much. But also then your flowers, you know, what kind of flowers? This is why we went to the flower baskets, because they're a little cheaper and easier at water and reduce time. So the answer is yes, we can do that, and they're putting that an a la carte together, because Crossroads is in a real boat this year. They need to make some decisions this year about how much they do in terms of their budget. So I bring that up. You all have this. I will share this with you, this 5-year plan. And then obviously, I just wanted to highlight the one-time expenditures. We pull those out and account for those on the side here. this $3,800, excuse me. You know, you're not gonna buy flower baskets and materials every year, right? Those are for the new poles that were added down by Holland's shop. And then holiday ornament replacement. We're getting you new ornaments, you know, to replace the ones that are falling apart and hang off the poles. So that you had in the budget this year. So those are one time.
Eric?
Yep.
Eric, it's Angel. Thanks for this. This is the first time we've seen it presented as such. At least in my recollection of being on here, what we're tapping into every year. Because I'm not sure we would have approached some of the things we did knowing, I realize we have a little bit of time, but I think it's interesting to see it in this way.
And is there a way to see all of this broken down? I mean, this, to be able to see the contractual services,
Sure.
the capital outlay.
Yep.
In time somehow.
Yep, we
I
can,
think to be able to pick this apart, we're gonna have to be able to see what these things
Sure.
break down to be. and
so
what-
we can absolutely do that. These are what we call classifications. So they are, if you look at the document we emailed, I'll just use a quick example. When you turn to page 2, if you look at the 700 numbers, operational equipment and area maintenance, those are materials and supplies. So you have an individual line item, those 700 numbers that you see there, they all combined total up to what is in this materials and supplies classification. Okay, the 800 numbers, professional services, disposal services, advertising, parking lot lighting is your contractual services. Okay, the 900 numbers on that document are what's called the capital outlay. One of the things I wanted to note as we talk about this budget that you have in your hands is we have used, it's not a bad thing, it's not a problem, it's just a little change. We've used those 900 numbers to pay for your lighting issues and such. They're really meant to represent an asset the city owns. We don't own the lighting on top of John's building. We've installed it. It becomes, you know, it's not an asset the city records. Does that make sense? So we aren't listing it in our depreciation or in our fixed asset schedule. We installed it. We've never claimed ownership of that piece of property over the top of John's building or anyone else's building. So we are moving those expenses in this budget, what I'm proposing, from the 900s up to the 800s. It's just a move in the account, so it'll still be in the budget. But that's, so I can break this down and give you the entire budget years back in terms of the codes and where it came from, very simply. So I'm gonna stop the share. We can always come back to this. You'll get this email to you. You can have it. What I wanted to do is this budget that I've given you, the preliminary Old Orchard budget, is both revenue and expenses. It is very bare bones. I just simply went through and what do I know you're gonna probably want to do? You can tell me you don't want to do it. We do anticipate you're gonna see some increase in property taxes because everyone's getting reclassified this year. We get the assessments redone in the odd numbered years. So that'll be your 23 taxes will likely have about a 3% increase. Your business licenses will go up based on 22. We don't know the business licenses for this year yet because they're not due till April. And in reality, it's really about June or July when they fully come in. But I do know based on 22 that you're going to be well above the $15,000, probably closer to 20,000. Okay, that again helps you on that 5-year plan, right? If that revenue comes in better, that's additional revenue. Your interest income is going to go way up. We have redevised our, as Councilmember Richardson can point to. First of all, we're taking advantage of higher yield returns from the Federal Reserve and the interest rate, and we are getting a much better return on interest. And so your fund balance is being invested in those programs to get 4 to 5% right now versus 0.05%, which we used to get. So that's a big difference. And then what I've entered in the 999 in revenue is the same amount for the transfer out to Parks and Rec, just simply as a way to start this budget conversation. Okay. So that's revenue, which gives you this year $22,000 to the good in revenue, if those numbers for 24 came in as we talked about. In expenses for this year, again, under that 24 department entry and request, we have entered in the admin support, which is Fran's time that you pay for at the same amount. I have your recycling services in 810. That has gone up to $220 now to empty the recycling bin. So it's gone up. That's about $80 increase in about a year. Don't know why. There's no contract that says we, pay a certain amount, but it's, if you want to shop around, we can. I think Old Webster's interested in shopping around, but I just entered the number to continue with Republic as it is.
Is that the one recycling dumpster
The one
on the north side of
Yes.
Old Orchard
Yeah.
behind Weber's?
Yep.
What's that annual cost?
It was $2,600. So it's not a huge cost. It just has gone up. Month over month, it creeps up every month a little bit. And then we always are fighting with them because they say we have an overage charge, or they say we're late when we're not late. We pay the bill. The moment it comes to us, we pay the bill, but they don't process it right away and they want to charge us a late fee. So I'm on the phone with Republic at least 3 times, Republic Services.
Yeah, I use them.
Yeah.
If they're challenging.
The challenging is a good word, so. So I bring that up just to say we can shop around for that, but obviously if you want to continue that service, we've included a spot for the budget.
I mean, it seems like it gets filled up all the time. I mean, I'm right there, so we use it for our cardboard too, so, a couple $100 a month though, I mean, I don't know. I guess we continue it on. I mean, we use it.
Right.
I'm probably the biggest beneficiary. I mean, there are other people who use it too.
We're happy to continue it on. just
Yeah, I
so-
guess
yeah.
continue it on.
Okay.
I don't, if anybody else has opinion on that.
I'll just continue walking through. So I took in the advertising line, this is your biggest area, obviously, and what we also use for some sponsorships and such. And we're looking at that. There's a new sponsorship line that's been added as an account code, so we may move a little of this around if it's sponsorships and not buying advertising. But here we've got what I believe are the numbers you have spent, and we can always add or detract. For the gazebo series, $3,000 from the district to the series. Staffing, which, pays for Fran's time to go sell the gazebo series and such, which is an addition to her contract. $8,650 for general advertising, $3,000 for holiday advertising, and then $300 in sponsorships, just, bake sales or whatever you want, or something, if you want to sponsor them. I know you don't sponsor bake sales, that's it.
A couple questions, gazebo series sponsorship.
Yep.
The district's getting money as a sponsor to help with the sponsorship money to the gazebo series.
Yes.
Last couple of years, have we come out ahead in sponsorships because our sponsorships?
Last year, we didn't get as much sponsorships as the year before. We got pretty much the same number of people, but they didn't all pay as much as the year before. And there was a couple that committed, but then I'm still chasing. Not a lot though. So,
Might be chasing one of those for rent today, so text me.
okay,
We kind of look, I think in the past, we've kind of said we can pay this much for the bands because we're bringing in this much. I mean,
we
but,
had,
before we get it all, but
we should be, we're in the black. Because we had the 1 year where we canceled it. But we still put the money in the account. So there's a bit of a buffer. I don't know exactly how much Bob was gonna.
Really something to keep an eye on this year, if we're able to get in the black without the district support. So as we start to pick apart, I mean, I know we're good through next year but I think I'm here for years to come, so I'm gonna be thinking long-term about how we start to pick apart the different things and how we increase our revenues or what things can go.
Then you also talk about how much do you want to, the more you spend on the bands, you know how that goes.
Right.
Although it's a reminder, because you just reminded me, we need to start sooner. Dale requested that we start sooner. So,
you start looking at the band center or dates and everything.
well, and sponsors,
Oh, sponsors, yeah.
when we have to pin down the dates first, but,
Right.
and I could put something together for next month if you want.
Why don't we do that for next month and then kind of push it like we did later in the summer,
Okay,
in the early
Alright.
fall. And then 6 concerts again, probably,
right,
that we've been doing.
because I think that's one of the driving the bands and things.
Little quick summary, not to dig into this too much. What's the next thing is the general advertising is obviously a large chunk of that. What do we have? We have a
Yeah, so
simple breakdown
this
of
is,
that.
we can get you a breakdown. Your spending has not been anywhere near this amount.
Yeah.
This has just been the historic amount you've put in to say for advertising. So this is if you want to run WKT things, just to come shop in Old Orchard,
Oh, the gang pages.
the game pages, things like that. So your spending there has been $1,000 maybe a year. So we could radically cut that
Because
down.
we already put 3,000 for Christmas.
Right.
This is all just this budget.
It just was
Yeah.
budgeted.
Yeah, we haven't
So
spent that.
you haven't spent near that much. So again, back to that concept of the 5-year plan, if you don't spend it, that's great. It saves you the problems and the issues, but it pulls forward. But also I think with the past, we've upped that number to give you plenty of room to be able to do things without needing to amend it, but you don't have to. You could cut it way back, so. And we haven't looked at other potential advertising issues. I mean, really, it's been WKT, and we haven't done any radio in my time here and anything other than around Christmas, when we do the larger Christmas package or holiday package, excuse me.
Right, right.
So that is something we could, if we needed to cut back 5,000 or 6,000 probably.
Yeah.
That's in there now, so.
Facade lighting program ideally in time that starts to.
The facade improvement.
Yeah.
Program.
I think if the facade lighting, facade improvement's a whole different,
Right,
So you
so,
have two different
which I
things.
do wanna actually ask about. I have a couple facades that are getting ready to get redone.
absolutely. So, just real quick, I'm gonna hop here, 850 parking lot lighting. This is the electric bills for the parking lot lights. Okay, very simple. 851, this is where we move facade lighting to. And I put $15,000 in as a plug number, thinking of the projects you've talked about, doing and such. Can be any number. We can put 0 in and come back and amend the budget as we see projects. So you can do it how you choose. I did not put in, and you certainly can, a facade grant program. So if you want a grant program to, give business some money to improve their facade, not just the lighting, but, paint or whatever it may be, absolutely. So
And that would be in that budget also.
that would be in that budget. Yeah, we call that.
The city of Webster already has something like that, though, for facade, doesn't it? No.
Well, certain business districts do, like Crossroads has run one. I don't think Old Webster's run one in quite some
No,
time.
they
So-
haven't.
And I think it was in your budget looking back, there was a facade grant program. They don't-
$500 a storefront.
Crossroads
That's
is
what
doing 2,000.
Crossroads is.
2,000.
I guess what we, 2000, I think that's what we did.
You guys-
for our old Orchard here.
Fine,
Right.
we can
You
add
guys
that.
one's
just,
used- but no
you
one's
just
used.
mirrored it.
I don't think anyone's used it recently that I've seen, so
Not for Old Orchard that I'm aware of.
certainly can put that in. That's not a hard thing. So
You were already finished with all of your.
I've done 3 storefronts, why that facade program was there and I've like never used it, just because I'm like, it's just easier to have to deal with the paperwork and the receipts and approvals and just say, here's the money go. But I'd be interested in
Sure.
doing one right now, so I'll ask. Is that somebody should ask outside the meeting?
well, no, I mean, I think we've got it in the current budget, so we can do it. And I think the question is, if that's a program that the group wants to continue, we should reflect it in the budget, even if it's just one grant. Crossroads does one grant of $2,000. So you could say, we'll do up to 10, just as a matter of budgeting. And again, you can always recommend to the council, let's change the budget. We've got a lot of facades. So this year we're gonna, we need to come back in December and say, do 3 more facade grant programs and add more money. So it's up to you all. If that's a program you want to see funded and such.
I'll let everybody else speak on that one, because I have a couple I want to have done and.
Oh,
I
you got
do
the
voting
new
for
business
myself.
owner down in the colonial area that's talking about doing stuff.
So
Well, there's 5,500 in there.
That was past years.
Oh, that's.
That's past years. So you need to, so I took it out
Oh,
because
I
we
see.
hadn't used it, so we can easily put it back in. We would put it in the 851 line as well.
what does it entail? What do you have to do to get the?
The current facade grant program is very simple. There's some eligibility requirements, obviously, in a district that does it. You submit receipts related to certain types of work, right? And so this is, I'm trying to think, I think Crossroads didn't do paint, but they do do they do paint?
Yeah, they did.
They do
paint.
paint, but they don't do a certain other types of amenities. So it's essentially something. Essentially, if you're beautifying the facade, and adding a better value to the street frontage. You submit receipts up to $2,000, you get $2,000
After the fact,
after
approvals or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Well, so we bring it here, I look at it all qualifies, we bring it here, the grant qualifies, everyone goes, yeah,
Yeah,
takes 2 seconds, so.
Well, would anybody be opposed to putting 4,000 into that and saying 2,000 per facade? By It definitely helps beautify the place. I'm just tossing ideas out on it.
I'd be fine with 4,000.
It's Angel, I would agree.
Well, that's
Steve, I
just-
agree too.
Let's just go with that then.
Okay.
And then see if anybody uses it.
Seem to make a big difference in Crossroads.
Yeah, their place, that all looks nice.
Yeah.
So if you look to the bottom line on page 3, what you'll see there then is you look at these net grand totals, okay? So if you look to the 23 amended budget line, that lines up with that 5-year plan where you showed $47,000 that we were, spending out of the reserves. The next column is the estimated amount. So I have to go through and estimate in the budget process what I expect you to spend before the end of the budget year. I do not expect that you will be spending your entire budget, okay? So look, I believe at this point, your deficit is going to reduce down to about 30,000. So you're spending 17,000 less out of the fund balance, the savings. The budget we just put together is about 15,000 out of savings plus that 4K that you just added. So again, now that's depending on the Parks and Rec, getting that final transfer number, and also the business license revenue, where we come in at. So, again, you can see you're generally performing better than you budgeted, which is great. But it's also, we pulled enough out of this budget in some regards to be able to get that number down quite some, that fund balance spending, the savings spending, which versus your 5-year plan that looked at the averages, expecting you to be 48,000 in the negative, right? So if you take, another, just say 30,000 and add that back in here, 25,000, you're already improving your next year's, the 25 deficit, if there was one in the fund balance. So I just wanted to highlight, that's the very preliminary budget. We've got the 4K in here. This will come back one more time next month as we get some firmer estimates. And then the budgets are technically due next week, but it all just comes to the manager. And because we want another month with you all, we'll use March to go through and finalize what the district is recommending before it goes to the city manager. Okay. I didn't mean to ignore everyone on the screen. Is there any questions I forgot here that you all have?
Nope.
Move on.
Yep, just real quick on the, one of the things that we talked about, the cardboard recycling. From a staff level at City Hall, I want you all to be aware, we are looking at, this is not this year, so that we still need to continue doing that, but whether or not we start doing some sort of localized recycling pickup, not for residents, but really through the commercial districts, and ultimately whether or not we install a commercial baler somewhere for cardboard and essentially come in, instead of having this company do it, pick your cardboard up in some way and bail that ourselves and, centralized recycling. It's a possibility with some of the economic development grants we're looking at, and also just to get dumpsters out of the business areas, and such like that, and clean them up. And we're seeing we think we have a recycling grant to install more recycling containers throughout the business districts, not just trash, which will be great. And if we do that, do we do pickup rather than depending on Waste Management to come and pick it up? And we've seen the challenges of that over the last couple of years, with staffing challenges they have. So long-term thing there.
We'd be a huge fan. We just had to add a second recycling bin. And like you said, the challenges of working with that company have been, it's taken probably 8 phone calls in 3 months of trying to get the bills correct, just because we needed to add a little more recycling with all the boxes we receive.
Yeah.
The south side of Webster, the south side of Old Orchard, from Frisco
Yeah.
through Webster Rock, would welcome that also. I think we're maxed on our dumpsters and
And we don't
down-
because of our quantity, probably. We could do better, but it's just not feasible as much as we need to for us because of it.
Sure.
We at Boulevard and Rogers Produce, he fills up a truck with recyclables, and we would probably do the same. So we would love something like that.
So I think, I don't want to steal Councilmember Richardson's thunder, but we're obviously looking at the strategic plan and what are those big goals, not only with sustainability, but with economic development. How do we help? You know, those are some of the areas we're looking at. How do we enhance the municipal service to really, you know, eliminate some of those problems, clean up tidiness and such like that, but also further our own sustainability goals. So. All right, that's what I have.
Can I make a
Yeah.
comment and to that? I know you're considering how to pick up, but also if it would potentially allow us to drop off would be nice because on daily basis, we have a crap ton gets delivered to us. So it might be for future, it'd be nice for us to be able to drop it off too.
Got it. Thank you.
Do we discuss 314 day and?
We did not. I'm
STL?
going to turn to Fran here because she had a meeting with Jenny Starkey as we looked at 314 day, which is about a month away. In fact, 30 days.
We were looking at how to just take advantage of what's already been put together. There is a group called STL Made. They've got a website, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. It's not new. It's been going on for a couple of years now, but on March 14th, it's billing it as anything St. Louis made and anything that's just to promote because we're 314 area code. The nice thing is that they have already done some logos. They've got free templates for social media posts. Just take advantage of what's already there to use if you've got something that, especially with the local artisans in Union Studio, everything's St. Louis made. Jenny's going to put together information to send out to all the businesses to give you some links and what's going on. And we didn't start talking about it where we could do something on a bigger scale because of the time factors, but lots of things like there's like neighborhood crawls between some of the neighborhoods that you had to become part of, and they were promoting it. Seems like that we missed that kind of thing. But if it's something that you all just need to know about and take advantage of something that's already been built, I guess you could say. It's also Pi Day, so everybody else is promoting it as Pi Day, but
Right.
especially teachers. So that it was just an awareness.
Okay.
So information will be coming out. Just to be aware, if you want to take advantage, feel free.
Move on to BDC update.
BDC update, I'll keep it brief. We have good things happening with the BDC, but I wanted to share that, let's start with this one. Work in Webster Groves continues to grow, which is great. This is the job board that the city has created. Post your job openings for free. We in fact featured Old Orchard. This is the flyer that's going in all the business license renewals that are going to be in your email, your mail, your letter today. Should be today or tomorrow, you'll get them. So we want to encourage you all to use it. And then also our digital advertising has landed. And so you will start to see, we spent about $7,500 on a digital advertising package. So we are in the Post-Dispatch this morning in the business section. And also, and then we have this Facebook post is up and running and just one of our examples. So we encourage you all to, if you see those things, share them, use them with your fellow business owners. So the point of this advertising is to get job seekers connected to the job board to fill your openings. And again, so if you have openings, we encourage you to use workinwebstergroves.com for free. I think people in this room have, I know John, you folks have, free, absolutely free. Just enter the information. We put it up on the board, no cost to you. We have left a couple of the job openings up until people have said take them down simply because of some of them are hard to fill, but in general, 2 weeks and then we take it down unless you tell us to keep it up. So very simple. And that is my BDC update.
All right. How about a city update?
City update, just briefly, I'm going to, we do have, I think we have shared, well, now I'm missing the share button here, share. I think we shared this all to you. But our business report from September through December, wanted to highlight, obviously Bijou Chocolates, you all know them, has opened in Old Orchard. So this is up on the website. And then we had some closures through the way. Edward Jones, another Edward Jones. We have a lot of Edwards Jones around this in Webster.
We got another one?
We got another one, yeah, so we'll provide this to you, and then also, I think if you've missed it. Bagel Union is open in Crossroads now, and it seems to be the new line, and everyone wants to know how long the line is. So-
Where are you gonna park?
Yeah.
They said, you know, why would you put it there? They said. They're like, "Oh, that's true."
This morning when I was on the way, so I don't know
Right.
what the consistency
They're
is.
having limits, they're only open like weekends and certain hours right now, like,
That explains it. They're not open on Tuesdays then.
yeah, I think a month. I saw it somewhere, but I think it's. There's
Probably Wednesday through whatever.
yeah, for sure Sunday.
I think it's Thursday through Sunday right now,
There you go.
but they'll be expanding that.
So we're very happy for that.
Where are they putting those bagels?
So we don't have an update, and just by way, because everyone asked me, Old Webster, this by the Regions Bank, the law firm and the coffee shop. I don't know. Mara doesn't know as well, the status of things there. Those folks are, that project's moving very slow, so.
The building is already constructed.
It's already constructed, but they've been doing interior work on that, so it's gonna be a coffee shop and a law office. And then one more, and then I'll get to you, John. We did bulk and treat boxes agreement with the folks at Rolling Ridge went through, and so they will be providing coffee, bulking there, a coffee shop in the event space at the Rolling Ridge complex. So great cross pollination between two districts there.
Mhm.
Go ahead, did you have a-
No, I was just gonna ask about that coffee shop.
Got it. Yep, so that is all
We
of
could have
it.
a coffee crawl in Webster.
Eric, did you want to mention the Kind moved too? That was kind of a big thing that it's just.
Kind moved, yes. So Councilmember Richardson, go ahead, have at it.
Right.
So.
They just moved to a larger space. They're now on Lockwood instead of in the that kind of stretch with you can do and all of that. But that just kind of came out. I think that just finalized last week, or they just reopened last week. So
Go
you
ahead,
want
Councilmember. Yep.
me to go ahead? Okay. As Eric mentioned, we've been pretty focused on strategic planning the last several weeks, if not a few months now. And our draft new mission, vision, and value statements are all out on the city website. If you haven't had a chance to look at those, it'd be good to hear feedback. We did take some community feedback from surveys and things, and we're just kind of finalizing our wording and moving into the strategic tasks to line up with our new goals and things. And so it'll be good to have that kind of completed and moving into budget season, which we're here right at the beginning of, and help to use those new kind of guiding pieces to help us with budget season. So budget will be the next long focus as usual, and we'll be having updates from directors on their proposed budgets here in I think about a month. So looking forward to getting that process going. We just this past week had started considering the possibility of the Lustron home historical designation. I don't know if anybody's been following that, but it's kind of an interesting thing that we have, multiple Lustron homes in Webster Groves. And so the Historic Preservation Commission has been looking at how to kind of help preserve those, because they're kind of in danger of being torn down in some cases. So we're looking at that as a council about kind of what it would mean to designate those as historical as the city, not necessarily as a national historic designation, but it's something just kind of interesting going on. But I'm happy to answer questions about anything else. I know there have been some things in the news, but if there are questions that you have, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right. Good. Thank you, Councilmember. Officer Rizul, is there anything for me?
I don't have any-
Everyone's been parking good. We don't, no ration tickets lately or anything. So.
All right, so we're gonna set the next meeting date with the 3-1 board.
314 day. It's pie day. We may have to have pie. John, do you sell pie? Do you have pie?
You sell quiche?
Yeah, don't worry. Ooh, that actually says something good. We can bring quiche in. Yeah, there we go. I might have to.
Key lime pie.
Oh, yeah, we just sell pie. I was thinking for breakfast.
Oh, well, I do pie for breakfast all the time.
We just call it an apple crisp, but Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so motion to adjourn.
Quick question, are you gonna invite the gentleman or whoever in reference
Yes.
to the, for next
Yes.
time? Okay,
Yes, so I will find out where he's at, so. But yes,
thank you.
his name is
I'll
Ray
make-
Golick, so.
Ray, thank you. I'll make a motion for adjournment.
I'll second.
All righty then.
Thank you all.
Thank you.